up. Here we go. Oh, sorry. It's so I'll scroll through now. I had it all on my screen ready, so we're losing time. So Sanne, you talked about tier 3, using a tier 3 level of reporting or calculating CH4, but you mentioned something about called a cow variation. Could you just elaborate on that? And then while I've got you, okay, I'm going to give you a second one. Methane leakage is most, I suppose we're talking about digesters here, is mostly known. Does the standard provide a default for that at all? So 2 questions for you, please, Sanne, and short, sharp answers if we can, then we'll get more in.
So individual cow variation refers to the fact that not every cow emits the same amount of methane. That's kind of, they can be talented or less talented to produce methane. And this science on that is progressing. So if you're able to include that, and even we can breed to have less methane talented cows in the future. Then the other one was on, oh, now I forgot.
So some digesters leakage.
Yeah, the digesters leakage percentages. They are actually in the IPCC 2019 report. There's some recommendations there. If you, of course, know exactly how much your digester is leaking, you can put that percentage in, but it's impossible to know. But they give some recommendations on newer and older and more advanced digesters and which percentages to use.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, I'm putting this one to Anna, but others may have a comment. Okay, this comes from Janardi. Is it enteric methane emissions can be efficiently estimated by modern dynamic nutrition models, okay? And it's been validated in the science, taking account of all animal parameters, ration composition, and feed quality. This has been validated, but these models are not included in the list of recommended instruments. So how can we use proven modeling techniques to help us understand the enteric methane emissions, or are we already?
Well, I don't think we have like a final, like the list is not definite. I think there could of course be other ways as well, but I think I will also redirect it to Sanne, who's been more responsible for that part of the chapter. She wants to add something.
Uh-oh, no, I just made sure I got the right next slides. What was the question?
Oh, I just scrolled off it to do the next one. So enteric methane emissions can be efficiently estimated by modern dynamic nutritional models, okay? But we're not specifying those models in our guidance, I suppose.
No, we didn't list the models, but these are all tier 3 qualified.
Okay. So now I'm going to do one more question and then we'll go to the closing out, 1534. So back to sequestration. So we mentioned here on trees and hedges in the context of sequestration. What about non-working lands can they be included within the boundary of the LCA and the IDF guidance? In other words, is carbon sequestration on non-crop or non-grazing land within the boundary? And I suppose that comes back to where you draw the boundary. So Hala or Jude maybe can come in on this one.
My understanding, of course, I leave through the comment, is really what you said, Brian, when we are setting the boundary, cradle to farm gate, and it's including the different activities of the dairy farm, including the cropland, the cropland and the other land on the farm, where we will have practices that may actually increase emissions. Somewhere this is allocated to that farm, these emissions, but also if these practices will increase carbon sequestration, those removals are allocated to that farm as well, and that can be allocated the same way to the products, to the output and byproduct from that specific farm.
Very good. Well, thank you all very much for your contribution here. As they say in the movies now, my job is done. So I'm going to hand over to Anna and Sanne now. I'm sorry I didn't manage this well enough to give you more question and answer time. Greg and Anna, I see you've been answering some of the questions in the chat. Thank you so much for that. But as I said before, other questions will be answered on the IDF website. Thanks to our speakers, but I'm going to hand over to Anna and Sanne now to take you forward and tell you what's next. Thanks.
So I'm going to close the meeting now with the last few slides. So any next steps, because we're not done with this LCA action team. We want to do much more in the future. So things that we could do in the next years are for sure to make sure that on the IDF website you can find dynamic updates and guidance such as answers to the questions that you've asked today and to make a Q&A there. So that will be done quite in the short term. We're also working towards a new working item within IDF on verification for IDF compliance. Their proposal, and we're now looking to finance that and to get started. We would have also been asked to develop carbon footprint tools for developing countries, mainly that are compliant with IDF guide. Engage in the inclusion of nutritional value. This is not necessarily always within the LCA action team, but there's also work done there in other action teams and also in different scientific projects outside IDF. We'll keep an eye on that because it's very important to get a good functional unit for nutritional value. We have discussed a lot the allocation in manure and how to better address the use of manure and the value of manure when being used in different agricultural systems. So we might do some more research there, and in the EU product environmental footprint in context, there's also work being done. And of course, better quantification for mitigation options is also taught. In all of these work that we do, we of course engage with the relevant groups and stakeholders, which are listed at the bottom of the slide. These are all the current members of the LCA action team, so we're 55 people. And of course, it's always possible to join the group in one way or another way. Also, if you have any questions when you're using the guide or just how to apply it, it's another reason to contact us. And the email address of Maria Sanchez Manar is here, and that's the point of contact. And then she will forward her questions to the action team leaders, actually, and we will try to answer as best as we can. So with that, I will close today's meeting, and I'm really happy to have so many of you joining here today, and I hope to see you in the future.